Hey guys, last week we talked about the most important question in homeschooling. Why do we even do it? Well, this week we are going to cover in the more practical side of homeschooling, the how-to, and the things that we have learned in the last 22 years, and we're going to answer some of your questions. That's next.
We talk about the church, family, theology, and even entertainment. In fact, if it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, welcome to the Mike Charleston Show. This is Mike Charleston, and today I am flying solo with my wife.
Hello, everybody.
Sarah, how you doing? So it's just us again today. We're going to do a part 2 of the homeschooling episode, and if you didn't catch the first one, that would have been yesterday. The first one we did was the why on why we homeschool, and
looked at some of the scriptures and the reasons why we actually do.
Why we came up with the conviction of homeschooling our kids. And this episode, we're going to be talking about the how-to, basically,
right.
what we've done, some resources that you can do. The first part, we're going to break this down into 2 parts. In the first part, we're going to answer a bunch of questions, right. Some basic questions, some serious questions that a lot of homeschool families have. And we've done this for about 22 years.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less, maybe more like 20 years. So I think we have a little bit of wisdom here. I don't know.
Yeah, we can hope. And I mean, this isn't meant to be this is how everybody needs to do it. These are
right.
this is how we've done it.
There's some helps and some things to think about. So if you were listening to the first episode and you're like, okay, well, it sounds good. Now, how do I start to accomplish this? This isn't exhaustive by any means.
Right.
We're going to have a lot of links and a lot of things that you can go check out. So if you're not watching, it'll be on the podcast description in the bottom there. So go check that out. There's going to be a lot of links. We might even put some of this on the website. Honestly, it might be easier if we just put it on the website, and you can just go to the website and look at the. How many times I'm going to say website? And, so, all right, well, babe, let's go ahead and get into this. So we want to talk about the first 4 rules, right? We have 4 rules. What are the 4 rules?
Well, I wanted to say some rules first because I feel like when you talk about homeschooling, there's some things that need to be laid down before you get into...
Lay down the rules, right?
Right. So the first rule I have is to remember the goal. So for us, we want to teach our kids about Christ. We wanted to teach them what it is to be a Christian and what that looks like.
And obviously we went into that a whole bunch in the previous episode. So if you want to look at that, go back there.
Right. So that comes first, and then after that comes all the academics, all the book work.
Yeah, and then the second one is obviously have fun. Yeah. So yeah. Now, when we say have fun, we're not just saying have frivolous activities just to have fun, make it a party every day.
Right.
What do we mean by just having fun?
Well, it should be enjoyable. Some people will take it too far and everything has to be
super serious.
Right. And or the other way, I was thinking where it's like they want everything to be flashing and lights and the kid just to think everything's a game. And, there's a place for games and learning through some of that or whatever.
It's time to be serious.
Right. But there is a time where it's like, okay, we have to get to the real math and the real science and learn some things. But if you're just pushing books in front of your kids or whatever kind of curriculum you use or whatever, and they're hating it and you're hating it,
and you're probably failing somewhere.
Right.
If everyone hates if you as a parent hate it, your kids hate it, well then it's not fun.
Right, and it's not going to be...
Learning should be fun.
And it won't be productive either.
That's where I would probably say you're probably bringing the schoolhouse into your home and it's just not working.
Right.
You need to sit back and relax and say, who are we?
Yeah.
How can we make this a learning experience? I want our kids to be able to learn some information and do it in a fun way to where, not that everything has to be done... sometimes you just have to do things that aren't fun. I get that. But the overall picture of this homeschooling experience should be enjoyable. If it's a drudge for you and it's a drudge for the kids and they just hate this and they're dragging their feet, stop everything, reboot.
Right. Time to back up and see where did we go wrong? Because that's not how it should be.
Wrong! Yeah, you don't want that. So number 3.
And then the third one is don't compare yourself to others, and which is easy to do, especially as a homeschool mom. You go to homeschool conventions or wherever you are with other moms, and everybody.
There's always that mom that knows what they're doing. They have everything together. They got all the books, and they look like they know what they're doing. All the kids are right in a line, and you're like, if I could be just that woman. Well, that's you. No, okay, maybe not.
No, because last week actually we went to that homeschool kickoff, and we were just watching kids. But afterwards we went and had lunch, and I walked through the big gym where they had all the booths
Vendors
set up.
And stuff.
And I walked through and I was so lost in there. I felt so out of place. And I've been homeschooling for, about 20 years or whatever, but I just felt so out of place because I just don't fit in with the traditional homeschool mom,
Yeah, we'll
I guess.
talk about what we do, but there are means out there to help, obviously. But if that's not you,
Right.
don't compare yourself to it. That's a good rule. Number 4.
And then the last one is be on the same page with your spouse.
This is a key one.
Yeah.
A lot of the misnomer in homeschooling is that it's for the women to do this, and that is not true. The husband should be very involved in this, very supportive. It's just that the women generally are going to be home most, and so they're going to be doing most of this. But homeschooling is a full family effort and an everyday, all day experience in a sense. And so husbands need to be in on this. You need to be in unity on direction and purpose and even the curriculum that you want to use. Most guys aren't going to care, honestly. They're going to be like, whatever, babe. If you think it's good.
But there are some that do care, and the wives feel like, well, I don't want to use what he wants because he doesn't even understand that this won't even work well. And
Learn to communicate.
Right. And so that would be the best thing is explain to him why you think maybe this would work better. But at the end of the day, to use your phrase.
Yes. At the end of the day, what?
You need to go with what your husband wants and try to persuade him and talk him into maybe something that you think might work better.
You've always accused me of making things really simple. Just like you come with questions and I'm like, just do this. And there's been a couple times where you felt overwhelmed and you're like, this isn't working. And I'm like, well, then don't do it. Yeah. And you're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, just stop. I mean, literally just stop everything you're doing and just kind of restart. What are the things that are working?
Yeah.
Keep doing those. And why isn't this working? Let's talk about it. Let's see if we need to change. Let's change. If it means getting some new books or doing something differently or looking something up, let's do it. As a husband, I don't want you to be burdened with anything more than you need to,
Yeah.
And I think most husbands should be on that page, If the wives are going to be doing most of the schooling. Now, maybe in the evenings, the dads can help out in certain areas, or maybe it's reverse. I don't know what you have in your house, but you got to be on the same page.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be pulling in two different directions.
Right.
Okay, so now for some questions. Now that we have some of the rules down, the first question, I'm going to switch the order up here, babe.
Okay.
But what are the laws for homeschooling in my state? This is a very important question because a lot of what we're going to be talking about is in our experience, which is Louisiana. And Louisiana is very loose on their homeschooling laws. They have a couple different ways of doing it. Texas has some pretty good laws. Florida has some pretty good laws. I know there's certain states, Tennessee, Kentucky, probably have some actually, Tennessee, there's some specific things you have to get to do. Mm-hmm. But you can look it up online, and maybe we'll have that link in the description here of a website that you can go to check your laws.
Right.
But just do a Google search, what are my laws in whatever state? And you want to make sure you're obeying the law. That you don't want to add more pressure onto your situation.
Yeah.
There's ways around these laws, too. I know, like in California, at least a few years back, you had to be a certified teacher to homeschool your kids. Well, a lot of people are like, well, that's not most of us. Well, what they would do is create a co-op type thing. I forget what they actually called it, where they had a certified teacher that was the principal or the head of all these other smaller homeschools.
Right.
And they would just meet together every so often, but they would be in charge of their own homeschool.
As I say, some places have like an umbrella school, they call it.
Right.
Where it's over. So I technically have a certified teacher.
Right. So there's different ways to get around some of these laws. And if you need help with that, once again, there's people out there that will help you doing this. I know we're supposed to be helping you, and we don't have that information necessarily. But you do a Google search on it. I don't know what state you live in, but in Louisiana, it's pretty simple. We have two different ways of doing it. One is an in-home study, and one's a private school. We do a private school. Right. And the difference is private school just means we just tell the state that we're homeschooling, and that's it. We send a letter in, and boom, that's it. We don't have to keep track of any test scores
or tests or any of that.
Now, we don't get top scholarship. We don't get scholarship for Louisiana schools unless we switch over by the time they're in 10th grade, I think.
Yeah.
In-home study is where you basically are a school, and you keep track of attendance, you keep track of scores and all this stuff, and you're available. You're
eligible
for scholarships.
Right.
So anyway, that's an important thing to look up. If you're ever considering this, and you make sure you're legal, that's a good thing.
Right.
All right. So what curriculum should I use? This is a huge issue. And this is where you're talking about you were lost.
Right. Yeah. Walking through and seeing all the different things. I'm like, I have no idea.
You go through a homeschool convention and there'll be vendors all over the place. There'll be a Becca, Christian Life, Saxon, Sun Life.
Right.
There's a whole bunch to choose from. And if you walk to one, they're going to sell you and be like, here, you get all these books. And it's kind of expensive, too.
Right. And if you want your kid to be smart, you buy from that person in front of you. But then the next guy says the same thing.
That's right.
So.
And they all have their pluses and minuses, I'm sure.
Right.
And I think we have used a little bit of all of them, actually.
Yeah, probably a little bit.
I don't know, the teaching textbooks, is that just regular teaching textbooks?
No, it's actually a thing, and I don't think I've used that one.
Okay, that's the one we haven't used. But all the other ones and what we've done is taken a little bit from here and there and everywhere. Right. We never just had a certain curriculum and said, this is what we use. We've never done that. It's too expensive. Yeah. We've always picked and chosen from different things.
And honestly, I don't think it really matters that much which one you use. And
you might want to stick with it, though.
Well, sure. But sometimes different ones can be overwhelming. I know, going to homeschool conventions, you pick up a textbook and you're looking through it. And some of them will have like 30 or 40 pages that I'm supposed to read as the parent in order to learn how to teach this subject. And that to me is overwhelming. And if that works for somebody out there, well, then great.
Well, nowadays I think you can sample those things online. So you don't have this. There's a lot of pressure at a convention or whatever those things are where you have all the vendors there.
Right.
You feel like you have to do something right then and there. You don't have to. Go online. There's a Becca, Christian Light, Saxon, Sunlight. All of them are solid. I mean, my goodness, you're gonna get educated on one of them. Some of them are a little bit more conservative than others.
Yeah.
But we'll put the links down there where you can go check out some of those websites.
Well, and here I'd also say that we didn't really get any curriculum for a number of years. Like when our kids were kindergarten, first, second, like we just weren't concerned with curriculum.
Well, the difference there is, let's think about it, people. When your kid's in kindergarten or first grade, they're picking their nose and coloring. They're trying to learn how to read. They're learning their ABCs. You can go to Dollar General and pick up a coloring book that has ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and get them to color and teach them their alphabet. This isn't hard. How do you teach someone to count? You get out some coins and you can do percentage and adding at the same time.
Ooh, percentage.
Yeah, or you can just count the carrots. So you're cutting up for lunch. This isn't hard when you're in kindergarten, first grade. Don't feel the pressure to start out as if you have a 5-year-old and I need curriculum right now.
Yeah.
What are they going to teach you? Counting and letters and trying to read. All you have to do is read with your kids. They will get it. That's how we taught Abigail and Rebecca real quickly. They got it.
Yeah.
And there's fun little things that other curriculums have. But honestly, go down to the Family Dollar or Dollar Tree, get a bunch of coloring books, and you're off and running.
Well, and just living life and cooking with them and cleaning with them and measuring things and doing all that, you're going to cover everything you need to cover in those first
pretty
years.
Much.
So.
All right, let's move on to the next question. Why don't you take this one because I always mispronounce this.
Okay, should I join a co-op?
So explain a co-op and the first thing.
Well, so a co-op is where you have
multiple families?
Right. Families come together. Sometimes a lot of people will come to a church or a gym or somewhere and meet and have people divide up into different groups. So I might teach English to this age or whatever, and then somebody else will teach science in this group. And so they kind of divide up and try to help each other to teach different
Someone
things.
has some strengths. So, hey, I can do this. I like teaching math so basically it just turns into a schoolhouse just with a bunch of moms getting together.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple dads, I don't know. But that's a good way for socialization, where a lot of homeschoolers are concerned about. We have never done this. Actually, we started our own. It was movie making class, and it was just a small class. But we have joined a co-op for field trips.
Right, just a group of homeschoolers that get together like once a month and have a field trip.
It's nice for kids to get together with other kids. Socialization is an important thing, but I don't use that as an excuse not to homeschool my kids. Look, they get plenty of socialization in, and they have plenty of friends.
Well, and there's pressure there. People feel like everybody else is part of a co-op because it's kind of something that comes up really quickly when you say that you homeschool. And so I feel like people don't need to feel pressure to be a part of a co-op. It's okay to just be home with your kids and teach them.
I think most of the people we know have not been part of a co-op. Why don't you go ahead and give some of the names of co-ops that are out there, the more popular ones?
So there's Berean, Lighthouse, Classical Conversations. Those are the three big ones that come to mind.
Yeah,
So.
those are kind of nationwide,
Right.
and they've organized it basically for you, so you don't have to do all that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it costs money though; they're not cheap.
Right.
So just be aware of that.
So then we have, how should I keep records of tests and quizzes and work done? Well, that's going to go back to the state laws and how you register, what's required.
We have never done that,
No,
honestly. Now, we
no.
may have done that we've done quizzes and we've
Right.
done tests,
Right.
but we never kept track of it. Nowadays, there are so many apps. I've looked online at different apps to keep track of these
Yeah.
things on the computer. It's actually kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
The things that you can keep track of tests, and there's a whole bunch of different apps to check out. Just search homeschool apps. There's homeschool websites there that will do these apps. But this is something we did not do.
We didn't. However, I mean, I feel like if, as a mom or dad, you feel like you want that accountability, you want to be able to see what
Right.
we've covered or whatever, then you're right. There's a lot of helps out there and things that people can find. So.
If you want the physical stuff, just get out basic folders, put your kid's name on it, put all their stuff in there, and if you want to break it up and from history, math, and science and all, you break it up, put tabs on, and stick it in a file drawer.
Yeah.
This one's a little easier. Just it depends on how organized you are.
Right.
Some homeschoolers are very organized,
Yeah.
and some are totally not, and we're probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
So,
well,
okay.
that's also where depends what you and your spouse have decided. You know, some wives, their husbands really want to know what they've been doing, and so
Right.
keep track.
Yeah,
Keep
there
the
was
records.
one app that I was looking at one time in the computer, and basically you had all your kids and all their scores, and it was actually kind of neat to see. But I was like, I'm not doing that. You know,
Right.
I don't care. I know that they are doing well, but for some that want to keep track of all that stuff, this is kind of important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll go there. So what's the next question, babe?
Should I use DVDs or online platforms?
Yes, you should. Now, okay, because we live in it's 2022, people. If there's so many helps online, and you have to weed through some things, like we use Khan Academy for math a good bit, but not everything. They're not. There's some teaching things out there that are full of evolution that we don't want.
Right.
A part of our curriculum. So we'll go to Answers in Genesis for a lot of the things on creation, evolution type things. So science books, things like Answers in Genesis provide textbooks.
Right.
We didn't mention them,
Yeah.
but for science, but all those other ones will have creation most likely part of
Right.
it.
Yeah.
But what do we need to be careful for?
Well, I think here is where sometimes people can fall into the trap of just telling their kid, okay, go watch the next video,
Right.
and you just kind of are pushing your kids away. And there is a time to, hey, I got to get some stuff done. You watch this video, and then we'll talk about it when it's over or whatever. But I feel like if you're just using it to basically push your kids away,
Yeah, be a babysitter
you're
for
probably
you.
not going to like the fruit of that.
Yeah,
So.
because it's just endless videos. It may get some information into them, but you're kind of losing the heart of what you're doing.
Right.
I know you've watched some videos. Usually watch it with them
Yeah.
and take notes, the drive-through histories and all that. But we had great courses at some time. And I know they're kind of on the liberal side of things, so be very careful. But their history stuff is usually pretty good. Those are college-level classes, honestly, and teaching our kids' history. And so we'll put in a couple of videos, or we'll watch a video or something on that. The drive-through history was pretty good. That's a Christian-based one. And there's a lot of helps online. Now, we get that through Right Now Media, or actually we get that through PureFlix, right?
The drive-through history we actually get through
From the library?
TBN.
TBN, okay, one of those things.
Just sign up on their website. Or like foreign languages. That's something I'm not going to be able to teach because I don't know any
Right.
foreign languages. So there's some websites through the library actually that the kids can access and they can learn a language.
And
so that's
actually,
useful.
YouTube. Now, I know
Right.
some people are opposed to YouTube, as we were for many, many years. And there are ways you can protect your kids on YouTube. But I know there are certain skills that you can learn just by watching video. People are eager to teach and show off their skills.
Right.
And like Joshua has spent many hours watching YouTube videos on how to edit and how to put together a YouTube channel and a podcast. And it has worked, I
And
hope.
I'm sure our listeners are grateful because it wouldn't sound good without the editing.
Hopefully it would sound just the
okay.
same. But the lot of the video aspects and how to fix a lawnmower, how to some of the mechanical things. I know
Right.
that's not homeschooling per se, but skills. Some of those
Right.
basic skills that I might not know how to do, or you
Yeah.
might not know how to do.
Right.
There are plenty of helps out there. In this day and age, there's a lot of helps. You just have to know how to weed through them. How comfortable are you? We always make sure we put the computer out in a public place. And if we're going to be there with them, it depends on the age too, how much we trust, and we put filters on the computers. But YouTube, once you start searching certain things on YouTube, YouTube's not going to send things that you're not interested in. They want to keep you going.
Yeah.
So as long as if your right side of your YouTube is filled with garbage, then you should probably check what you've been looking at. Honestly, if you're full of searching for good things, it's usually going to recommend things that are very, very similar.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are the online platforms and DVDs and things like that. And most of those curriculums will probably have DVDs along with it too.
Right.
Bob Jones.
An option to do just DVDs or a combination of DVDs with workbook or whatever.
Right.
So,
I think
yeah.
Bob Jones is strictly like it's an online service or it's a video, and then you have to do certain tests. I don't know of all of Bob Jones, but that's a whole nother one.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another question, babe.
Should I teach multiple kids certain subjects together?
Yes. Once again,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about. Basically, is like the Little House on the Prairie scenario. Well,
Yeah.
you kind of have to when you homeschool. You have so many kids together. So how do you do it? We had so many kids. We had 7 kids in 8 years.
Right. Well, so, I mean, towards the beginning, we would have school time or math time, and I would give everybody something to do, and it would be math related. Like
Sure.
the older ones would be actually sitting with a textbook and working through that, but the other ones would have a little paper with something I had printed offline, and they have to add how many blueberries to how many blueberries
Sure,
or whatever. And
sure.
we're all kind of sitting there doing math, but obviously it's scaled differently depending
It
on the
is.
age. So,
Yes, and sometimes if you have a big gap in your kids' ages, have the older ones teach
Yeah.
because teaching actually helps you learn. You have to formulate
It makes
things
it
and-
much more solid. So many times when I'm like some younger child needs help, I ask an older one to, hey, can you go show them how to do that? And it
Right.
really makes it solid in their minds.
especially in math. We've done that here at our kitchen table where one kid is struggling with a problem, then we'll get an older kid. What do you
Right.
think about this?
Yeah.
And then they'll try to do the problem, and then we end up all doing the problem, and they ask Dad, and they all laugh at me because I have no clue what I'm doing. So, but they are way smarter than me in math. Math was not my thing. Actually, not many subjects were my thing. I did not. That was me. I knew a lot about history, but biology, math, I just wasn't very good. I was an artist. That's what I knew. I
So
knew
you
how
were
to do art.
creative, yeah. So the next question is, how much should my child be able to do on their own?
Okay. Well, what do you say, babe? I mean, you said depends on how old they're. Well, no kidding. It depends on how old they are. Depends on where they are. Kids should be able to do some things on their own.
Yeah.
But the
definitely.
whole point of homeschooling is that we don't just shove them off into a corner.
Right.
So you want to be there with them to show them, and then, hey, do these things. Let me spend some time over here.
Right.
And, it depends on a lot of their attitude.
It does. And I mean, honestly, you want to have a good relationship with your child. That's the goal here.
Right.
And so just pushing them away is not going to get you that relationship that you want. And sometimes kids do need you just to, they want you to be with them.
Right.
And so, sometimes I've found even just to be there, even if I'm not actually helping them with the problems, but I'm kind of there, it's just they want me to be around. And actually, I like that they want me to be around because my goal isn't to have them just away from me and how about you go to your room and finish your math or your science or whatever. I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, and some kids are geared towards certain things. So like Abigail, who I called a nerd last podcast, and I got a lot of flack for that. And I'm like, okay, she's not a nerd. She's just very technical and organized and smart.
Attention to detail.
She's very attention
got
to
that.
detail. And we knew that right away. Like we gave her a math book and she wanted to do problems. Just give me all the problems in the world, and she could just sit there by herself and do it by herself and just do all the problems. Rebecca wasn't so... I mean, she did, but she didn't like to just sit there and do all the problems.
Right. Some would ask if they could skip, or maybe one day I'll be like, oh, how about you just do the even ones? Because, you don't necessarily have to do everything. Abigail would not do that. It's like, oh, this is the next problem.
You
So I
gave
gotta
her
do
a
the
list
next
to do
one.
something, she would do that. And so would Lydia.
Right,
They would do
Lydia's.
that. So it just kind of depends on your child, and we want to we want not to neglect their weaknesses, but we definitely want to encourage their strengths.
Right. Yeah.
And we work on the weaknesses too. Just because they're not good at something doesn't mean you neglect it.
Right.
But
well, and like you had mentioned the attitude thing, and I think sometimes, when you talk about how much should they be able to do on their own, sometimes they'll sit there with, 5 math problems and it'll be an hour goes by and it's just because either laziness or a bad attitude or both. And that's not acceptable.
Right.
So
Right.
that's going to have to be addressed. So, I mean, there is a time to say, okay, this is not because you
But
just
at the same time, depending on their age, remember, you're a mom, you're a dad, you want to pull back. Don't push too hard. Like if they've been sitting there for 3 hours, we're not designed to sit in a classroom. This classroom thing is a new thing. Yeah. They didn't. Classrooms were only existing in the last 200 years. Now they had higher education a little bit longer, like colleges and things like that. But the last really 200 years, they take kids from an early age. Kids at 5 and 6 and 7 do not need to be sitting for 7 hours and doing problems, okay?
Right.
Especially boys. Boys will be so bored and so uninterested in learning, you're going to kill their creativity. You want to kind of feed into their creativity, feed into their learning. If they don't want to learn, then you have failed.
Right.
So you want them to keep learning. Now, maybe it's not something you want to learn, but they should be curious about things.
Right.
So
it's just going to bring frustration to try to, especially with a boy, like you
Yes.
say, to have them sit that long. And so it's much better if you go let them run and play. And,
go outside. Even just do a lesson outside every once in a while. Mix it up a little bit. Sit at the picnic table. It's okay. You use all the senses,
Right.
touch, feel, smell.
Yeah.
It's the way God created us.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the next question?
So the next one is, what should I expect from homeschooling?
You should expect your kids to be perfect. Oh, okay, I'm just kidding. No, what you'd expect. So basically is what you get is what you give, or what you give is what you get.
Right.
So if you don't do much, well, don't expect much. Right?
Yeah. So if you're strong on academics and that's what you really push, and we just, get to the books every day.
Guess what you're going to get?
You're going to have a really smart kid that knows all the stuff from all the books.
And if that's what you want, then that's what you're going to get.
Right.
If you give all the activities, sports, dance, music, all that stuff, guess what? What you put in is what you're going to get out.
Right.
And we actually know a number of families. We have one family we know that really pushed academics. They were very strict on academics. Well, their daughter was brilliant.
Yeah.
She's brilliant. She's
Right.
smart. Shocker, right?
Right.
And we know another family who spent hours a day practicing their music.
Right.
Well, guess what? They produced 5 or 6 albums now.
Right.
They have some CDs out there. They're very, very good at what they do. Half the time they're living in Nashville. So they're creating a lot of music. Well, that's because they spent so much time learning.
That's what they put in. That's what they devoted
Right.
their time to, and you could tell.
And so there's a lot of things that you can, if you give your life skill lessons around the home. And here's the other big one: if you ignore your child.
Right. Yeah. If you just ignore them most of the day, then what do you expect you're going to get out of this?
Right.
Not some great relationship and just, your kid
So
just wants
remember,
to please you.
what do you want to get at the end of it?
Right.
Now, look, they're going to be smart. They're going to figure out things, and I don't think we have to prove anything to the system or anything. But back to our first episode where we talked about the why.
Yeah.
Once you know what the goal is, what you want, then you can aim toward that. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get saved children just because, in that case, I'm just going to give them Bible. You could, and you can create a Pharisee.
Right.
But you can't make a child get saved. They want to make sure we clarify that. But they're going to be smart if that's what you push. If you push arts and music, guess what they're going to be for the most part? Maybe not every single one of them, but
Right.
That's your interest and that's what you want. Guess what? Input, output.
Right.
It's very simple.
Yep.
So that's what you should expect, right?
That's what you should expect, what you put in. So the next question is, do I have what it takes to homeschool? Am I smart enough? Do I have the time?
Yeah, this question annoys me. I don't like this question. We talked about this earlier, right?
Yeah.
And why does it annoy me?
Because you feel like God's given us these children, so obviously He's equipped us to be able to give them what they need.
We're not all the same. We're not all great teachers necessarily. We may not all be smart in certain areas.
Right.
But God has given you a child to take care of. Now, like we were saying, if in a perfect scenario, like if I was designing a business and we have this baby and I'm going to entrust it to someone, who am I going to entrust it to? Probably someone who has a lot of wisdom, someone who has been around for a while, maybe someone that's 60. But that's not what God does. God gives it to like 20 and 25-year-olds. These people are having kids while they're still young, and they're growing up still, and they have these children. And guess what? You're equipped to do this. Don't be afraid. This one annoys me because people, they almost use it as an excuse. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Well, guess what? You aren't good enough. You're not smart because there's always going to be something that your kid, that you don't know. There's going to be something you don't know, and your kid's going to... But that's every school, that's every teacher, that's every situation. But as long as you can help them find answers and that you can help them figure things out, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Right. But you can do this because you are a parent. Did anybody teach you how to change a diaper? I mean, come on. How to make a bed? You figure it out. Yeah. And the good thing is they don't come at you when they're 18. You can do this slowly. Now, if you're starting later in the game, you're going to be behind the 8 ball just a little bit. But once again, be a parent, be a mother, a father, first and foremost, and then be a teacher. But you want to bring this in slowly. If you say you decide, okay, I'm going to homeschool my kids, but now they're 11. They've been in the public school system or private school system for a few years. Right. So how do I transition out of that? It's going to take some time. Yeah. But use your strengths. Stick with the easy things.
And in today's world, we have so many helps, so many things that you can turn to if you feel like, oh, okay, this is a tough subject and I'm not quite ready for this one. Well, there's things that you can use to help out. So there's no reason anybody out there can't homeschool their kids because they're just not smart enough.
And the last question here is, should I take off in the summer or teach through the year? Now, the summertime off is just, once again, the whole school system is kind of arbitrary to begin with, and the whole summertime off is just so they could go farm in an agrarian society. So that's kind of arbitrary now. There's no need for it. But we kind of homeschool, we're always learning. That never stopped. Parenting never stops. So we kind of just gone through. Now, the actual schooling part, textbook work and things like that, we have done both. We've done year-round. We've
taken breaks. We've done, we'll just take breaks when the weather's nice for a while, take off.
You have that freedom.
But, it's pretty much what works for your family. Some people...
If you're a traveling family, you're going to have a little bit more leeway, right? Yeah. Or maybe you're one of those families that you need to be detailed. If you're not, you get really lazy and things get chaotic, so you need that structure. Right. Yeah. It just depends on your family. We kind of... Everything revolves around the Bible bee. And
pretty much.
We hit that hard for a little while, and then we go back. So that's like their break from schoolwork is during the Bible bee time.
Wow, that's quite a break.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, it is kind of all-consuming. So for us, some of the other work goes out the window for a little while.
So these are some questions that I know that we mentioned in last week's program, and so hopefully we help some people with some of these questions. If you have more questions, please email us at talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. I feel like we're going to be getting some questions in for the next couple of weeks, so we'll kind of be talking about homeschooling for the next couple of weeks. We'll put in the description some of these links to some of the groups, the classical conversations, the co-ops.
Some of the curriculum things or other helps that we found.
Yeah, we'll put links in that and in the descriptions so you can go and check those out. Yep. All right, we'll be right back.
Thank you for listening. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, we are back, and this is going to be the email segment and the game show segment, and we've got a special guest, actually. I know we've been talking about this for a very, very long time.
Larry.
Yes, Larry is with us, not just on the phone, live and in the studio. Come on, Larry, come on out of the closet.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah, there he is. He's finally here.
I made it.
Yes, he made it. He is moved in, kind of, and he is with us.
Kind of, yeah.
And he wasn't able to make the show because he just moved in. But the game show, we're going to torture him. Since we don't have Chuck here, we're going to hopefully... I think Larry might have this one, though.
I don't know. Somebody had to take the loser seat, huh?
That's right. We have the chick chair and we have the loser seat. Sorry, Sorry, Chuck.
I hope he doesn't watch it or listen.
No, he does. we got dice in our hand. So, Abigail, is it time for game time? And now it's time for game time with Abigail. Okay, so Abigail, why don't you? This looks like a Trivial Pursuit type of game. Since this is about schooling, let's see how dumb we are, right?
It's kind of like Trivial Pursuit.
So what are our 6 subjects?
So our 6 subjects they're kind of based off of homeschooling topics.
Oh, are they?
History, geography, grammar, math, science, and literature.
These are 5th grade level, right? Hopefully.
Yes. I don't know.
I don't know at grade level.
She found them.
She's a homeschooler. We don't know grade levels.
All right. So what do we do? Each person roll a dice when it's their turn, and then a die.
Yep, you're going to roll the die, tell me the number, and then I'm going to pick a question from that category.
Sweet.
And they're not multiple choice, so you just have to you either know it or you don't.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
know it or you don't. So it's 50-50.
It is 50-50.
That's right. All right. So who goes first?
Well, since we have dice, how about let's roll?
All of us?
Sure,
Let's
to
see.
see who goes
one,
first.
one person. Oh, to see who goes first.
Yeah.
Who
Oh,
goes first?
yeah. 3.
I got
Oh,
a
you guys
6.
got to roll again. They got 6s. We keep rolling
I think our
6s
dice
over
are
here.
weighted.
They got 5s. Come on. I get to go first. Okay, we got 4.
right, Larry goes
gets to go
first.
first.
All right.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Here we go.
Still there.
A 6.
6.
A 6. Okay, that is a literature question.
Ooh, a literature. What's a literature?
I don't know. I'm illiterate.
Okay, we got literature.
Okay, here's our first literature question.
Ooh, literature.
The hero Beowulf faces a monster known by what name?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Can we steal it? If he gets it wrong?
I
If
really,
he doesn't get it.
I don't remember. I'm not going to give this.
But I think Larry gets a...
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't know either?
What's it start with?
It starts with a G.
Gandalf.
Camille?
It does kind of sound like
Yeah.
that, but it's Grendel.
Grendel.
Oh, yeah,
that's
Grendel.
it. Grendel. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, come on. No whammies. 5.
All right, 5 is a science question.
Oh, ho, 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 ho.
Oh, you got this one.
All right, and here's our first science question.
First science question.
What do bees collect and use to create honey?
Nectar?
That is correct.
Yes.
So now I have to roll?
Yes, right.
Okay, I got a 1.
A 1. That is history.
Ooh.
Oh, yikes.
Wait
All
a
right.
minute. What is that?
You don't know yet. I might know
okay.
a lot.
All right, so our first history question is who sent Christopher Columbus to explore the New World?
King of Spain, I thought.
I don't think so.
I want to say like Ferdinand.
Ferdinand.
Magellan.
Wow, my goodness.
Close. Yeah. Close. Yeah.
Oh, ouch.
So what's your final answer?
King Ferdinand.
It is King Ferdinand of Spain, but not Magellan.
Hey, I got it right.
You got that right, but you should have stopped while you were
Yeah, I was like, you're there.
I guess we'll give her that point. Larry, roll your die.
All right.
Oh, we got number 5. We need to mix this up a little bit.
Yeah.
Number 5, science question.
Back to science. He's a science teacher, so come on. Weren't you?
Years ago.
Years ago.
All right. What tissues connect the muscles to the
Kleenex.
bones?
I always get these mixed up. It's either the tendon connects the muscle to bone, or
Ligament.
so which ones connect?
Ligament. Tendon.
Which what tissues connect the muscles to the bones?
Oh. It's 50-50.
I know it. It's either ligament or tendon.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah,
get them
they
mixed
both
up.
sound good to
I
me.
know. I'm gonna go with tendon.
It is tendon.
Wow. Yeah, they got it all right. All right, my turn.
Yep.
Yeah, go for it.
A 3.
Oh,
This
new
is a
one.
new subject.
3. You get the first grammar question.
No, this is your category.
No.
All right. So the first grammar question, what is a word that stands in as a substitute for a noun? What is that called?
I didn't know they had things that stood in the place of
Yeah.
I mean, like a pronoun.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not amateur.
Oh, babe, look at you. Good job.
Yeah, of course I got it right. I knew what I'm talking about. Not really.
I got a 6.
Another 6. Come on, man. Get a 2.
All right, a literature
I don't want
question.
a literature question.
I'll answer your literature question.
Okay, thanks.
Who wrote Charlotte's Web, The Trumpet of the Swan, and Stuart Little?
I thought Stuart Little did, but no, he didn't. No. Come on, babe. You should know this one.
I know, and I think it's something with that's like Stuart. It's
No. I got it.
Charlotte's what? Babe, what are you doing? Okay, I don't know.
Is it E.B. White?
It is E.B. White.
Yes, I did know that.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
So Dad gets a bonus point there.
Yeah, bonus. Whose turn is it now?
Mine.
Back to Larry. Oh,
One.
a 1.
A 1.
That's a new one, huh?
Uh-oh, no.
That is the history section.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, more history.
Okay.
That's easy.
All right. What event is commonly believed to have sparked World War I?
Oh, the assassination of...
Ferdinand Magellan. The Spain guy. King Spain. Or actually, it's a prince.
Yeah. I don't remember his
Hey,
name.
why are you giving him the answer?
You need help.
Yeah, I don't remember the
You got
name.
the assassination
it was,
of
the
Prince.
assassination of
Of
Prince
somebody important.
Prince Louis.
It
Louis.
was the assassination of Archduke Franz
Archduke.
Ferdinand
Yeah,
of
Franz
Austria.
Ferdinand. Oh, of course you should
Wow.
know that. Franz Ferdinand. So does he get it right or not? What do you say?
I mean, he said an assassination. That's kind of.
It's a 50-50.
Well, all wars are started because of
Well,
assassination.
not necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
'Cause
Mostly.
World War II wasn't.
Someone got assassinated.
The Civil War wasn't.
Yeah,
There was
Civil-
assassination somewhere. Someone died.
How about you roll your die?
Okay. Number 5. Ugh.
Number 5, a science
I
question.
hate science.
You did good last time.
Did I?
Did you
the
already get a
science
science question?
He did.
might
He
have.
said,
Then you have to re-roll.
he
What?
said nectar.
Wait,
You got to
really?
get a different
Oh,
category.
Okay. How about 6?
Yeah.
Literature.
Oh, yeah. Jane Austen. Charles Dickens. Shakespeare.
Here is your literature
For
question.
500.
What is the name of Tom Sawyer's best friend in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer?
Oh, my goodness. I didn't pay
Oh,
attention to...
I know.
Tom Sawyer.
Come on.
Come on, what? He was on his raft and he
Do I get to steal?
Well, there could actually... Well, yeah. No, go ahead.
I feel dumb because I should know this. And once
you
I
do know it.
It's not Boo Radley because that was a different one. Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I was hoping for a steal point.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to roll. 5?
Why are we?
Science. Okay. How many hearts does an octopus have?
Good night.
I mean, they have 8 legs. I'm going to go with 1.
Did anybody want to steal?
3?
It's 3.
Wow.
Wrong.
You got it right.
But he got it right. Yeah. Oh, what do we got?
3.
3, a grammar question.
Did you already get a grammar
No,
one?
I didn't.
No, okay.
Okay.
My
Sentences must usually contain a subject. What else is required to make it a sentence?
Oh, come on.
Well, they have to be in agreement with a verb.
Yes, come on. That was even I knew that. I mean, come on.
Did you know they have to have agreement?
Well, I assume they have. I got a 4.
A 4 is the math question.
Oh,
Oh,
math.
all right,
what?
yeah.
What is this?
What is the only number that doesn't have a Roman numeral?
0.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Woo, man,
Math's not so hard. I'll take a 2.
take a 2 for 400, Alex.
2 for geography.
Oh.
Maybe I don't want a 2.
Oh, I like studying the age of the Earth. All right, let's go.
All right. Your question is, what American city is the Golden Gate Bridge located in?
Oh, come on. What kind of questions are these?
I mean, I know it's in California.
Oh, my.
I'm going to say San Francisco.
Yes,
That's
of
right.
course. It's the San Francisco tree.
I thought that was rice.
It is. 4. Just tell us what we need at this point.
A 4 is math. You have not done a
I'm
math
Oh, yeah,
question.
math.
You just did math, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Which flat picture may also be shown in 3 dimensions?
Which,
no way.
which flat picture?
Well, basically, it's a 2-dimensional picture.
I understand
and it
that.
can be shown as a 3-dimensional
A
picture.
cube?
No.
Oh.
And I know we've talked about it before on the podcast.
What?
Recently, too.
A rhomboid?
Rhomboid.
A rhombus.
A parallelogram. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't understand the.
It's a hologram.
I was going to say that, but I didn't know that.
Hologram.
Okay.
Oh,
Wow.
okay, that does make sense.
What do I need?
Okay.
Do I need to roll? I rolled a 2.
Oh, there you go. Too.
Yeah, how about that?
Geography. Which country is also called the Netherlands?
Which country?
Yes.
Oh, this is
it is called the Netherlands,
But it's also known by something else.
Yeah, it is, because I called it that recently, and y'all
Yeah.
corrected me.
well, it's Dutchland. The Dutch. It's the Dutch people. So Dutch.
And they say they're from where?
Deutschland.
No. That's
Nothing.
probably like the actual way of pronouncing it in their language.
They're from the Netherlands. They're from Dutch.
No?
What is this? I know this.
Is it Norway?
No, it's not Norway. Think about
It's
where.
close to there.
It's still the same country, babe.
no, it's
Think about God Smuggler, where Brother Andrew's from.
Oh, I know. It's Holland.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, that's true. So I guess I got that one wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, we need. The crowd's feeling sorry for me.
Okay, I know I need
How's it
Because Dutch
three.
don't know what they're doing. They're getting called by like 5 different things. Do they not know where they? Come on, man. Holland.
I'll take a 3 for 500.
Yeah.
For grammar?
Do you need?
Yeah.
Oh, you need grammar. Grammar's about.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
What is a combination of 2 vowels called?
Oh, I know this.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard it, but I don't know. It's not going to come
That's
out.
a tough one.
It's a diphthong.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Wow. I never
Yeah.
heard that.
Boom.
I'm impressed, babe, with your grammar
Yeah.
knowledge.
Hey,
Wow.
you know,
Yours.
I listen to things.
Here's your geography question.
Oh,
What is the name of the largest airport in the United States?
wow. What?
Oh, well, let's see. I want to say O'Hare,
Ooh,
In
that's
Chicago? but
What about the one?
then
in,
there's Atlanta. That's a
oh, that's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of that one.
LaGuardia.
That's the one
There's
I was
some big
thinking.
ones.
Maybe it's Ronald Reagan.
I was gonna say Ronald Reagan. Boy, there's some big airport. I'm gonna go with Atlanta.
It is not Atlanta.
I'm
I would
thinking
say-
it's. Yeah, go ahead.
I would say it's LaGuardia.
Nope.
I'm going to say it's New York.
That would be
Nope.
LaGuardia.
Orlando.
Nope.
It's going to be LA.
Nope.
O'Hare, Houston,
Nope.
Ronald Reagan.
Nope. You're not even in this right part of the country.
Wow.
Well, we
Denver?
named East
It's
West.
Denver.
Denver.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
wow! Who would have thought?
Is it largest as far as land mass, land area?
I don't know. It just said the largest.
Oh, guess I should have asked. but-
Yeah. Wow.
Interesting. Okay, what do I need here?
Which children's story begins with a boat being wrecked in the middle of nowhere during a sea storm and a family's survival as they live on an island?
I know.
Well, when you first were saying this, I was like, definitely Gilligan's Island. But then you got me into it. There was a family, so it probably has to be Swiss Family Robinson.
It is Swiss Family
Yeah,
Robinson.
dang, that's for sure.
I know I didn't get a math question.
Oh, get the math
That's the
question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, apart from 1, what is the first positive number that is both square and a cube?
I'm glad you're getting this one. What is that
I'm
supposed to mean?
going to say 4.
Oh, I always thought 3.
It's the first positive number that is both square and a cube.
Yeah.
Oh, 9.
And a cube.
9 can't be squared. Oh, yeah, 3 times 3. And then.
All right, hang on.
Yeah.
So it's squared and cubed?
Wrong.
Babe, stop.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
Anybody want to guess?
I would have, off the top of my head, I thought 6, 9. 27.
Nope, 64.
64.
Ooh,
yeah.
64.
Because 8 times 8. And then.
Oh.
What is
yeah.
it?
Oh, yeah.
8 squared is 64.
All right. Well, is that about it, or
Four
were we
cubed.
missing one?
Well, I think everybody answered one, so now we just have a random one. Who is commonly referred to as the person who created the first printing press?
Gutenberg.
Eli Gutenberg.
Yes.
Eli Gutenberg. Yeah.
It's not Eli Gutenberg.
No, it wasn't. It was.
Johann, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
One more question.
Okay, one more. 5.
5, we've got a science question.
Science question. I need literature. I'm good at literature.
All right, this measurement, approximately 6 feet, is used to measure the depth of water. What is it?
A fathom.
Yes.
Fathom.
Wow. Do we have a score out there?
How about number 6? Not one, number 1. We did number 6. I choose number 6.
All right, number 6.
Literature.
You picked that one so you could win.
Yes, absolutely.
I knew it was rigged.
What popular Disney movie?
Oh, no. How's this literature?
Because
Hey,
It's
Disney.
literature.
A movie?
It's okay.
Okay.
What
Keep
popular
going.
Disney movie was originally a novel written by P.L. Travers?
That's Mary Poppins.
Yes.
Yes.
I was going to say Pinocchio, but
It was rigged, right?
yeah, it was rigged.
Yeah. So that means that he wins, right?
Yep.
Good job.
Congratulations.
All right. Well, I think that's it. And we'll quickly come right back and we'll do an email real quick. We are back with the email. We have one email, and of course, Larry's still here.
I'm still there.
So this is from Isaac. Isaac wrote us an email, and we're going to get into this, Isaac, in a couple more weeks when we're talking about the King James issue. But why don't you go ahead and read it, babe?
Okay, it says, "Hey, I heard this recently and thought it might be a good idea to study in the KJV. I heard recently that we are not commanded to make disciples, but to teach and preach Jesus. I was intrigued and skeptical. The KJV says go and teach, but other translations say go make disciples. It was said that it is never mentioned in the KJV, and we can't make disciples, only God can make a disciple. I was interested what y'all's take looks like." Isaac.
So a disciple, we were talking about this off air, and you actually looked up the Bible verse of reference, and it doesn't say make disciples. But a disciple is someone, like Jesus had disciples, someone who follows, is a follower of someone.
Or a student of somebody.
And so when it says go make disciples in those other translations and go and teach, to me it's the same thing. We're not actually making them follow us, we're making them follow Christ. And how do you do that? By preaching and teaching.
Yeah, you have to teach them something.
Right. So what we're doing is we're teaching them Christ. We're teaching them the way. And so that is discipling. We use that term discipling, but who are they a disciple of? Not of me.
Right.
Not of Larry.
Not of-
they're disciple of Christ. So that's what we're saying. Go make disciples of all nations, and we use that kind of loosely. So go and teach. It's the same thing, really, but we'll get into that a little bit more when we get into King James issue, I guess, but maybe not. We answered the question.
Yeah, another way of saying it is make them a student of Jesus Christ.
Right, that's basically what it's saying. And how do we do that? By teaching and preaching. So I know it could be a King James translation issue, but honestly here I don't think it is. It's
Right.
I think we understand what we're trying to say here. We're not making disciples. Only God can. I get what that person's trying to say. I don't know who this was, but it's true. Only God can make disciples, but God isn't going to miraculously imposit information in them.
Right.
We have to do the teaching. We have to. How are they going to know unless they have someone teach them and preach?
Well,
So-
one of the gifts given to the church was teachers. Yeah.
Right. So I think they can get the Bible and they can read it, and that's them teaching themselves, basically.
Right.
But honestly, how God usually works is through people, and we're there to go to preach and to teach. So we don't want to forget the one and not the other. We need to be people who are willing to teach and not just go and preach the gospel. We want to be able to spend time with people and disciple. We use that term very loosely, but it's not about us. It's all about Him. So I hope that helps clarify a little bit. I honestly think it's still the same issue. Still the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Is that fine, babe?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. And we'll be back with the second part of the show.
Thank you for listening to The Mike Charleston Show.
All right. We are back. And this is our second part, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And this segment, we're going to talk about kind of what we did.
Right.
Maybe we can give you some helps
Give
here.
some of the specific things that we used.
Like for each subject and what we have done and what we think that might be helpful. So hopefully this will help you guys. Honestly, I don't know, but we'll see. So let's see. The first things, some of the things we did, is we use the libraries. Ross Little, please don't listen to this. No, but we did use the library a good bit. In what ways did you mean by use the library?
Well, when the kids were young, we used to go to the library once a week.
Oh, easily.
And we had
a library bookshelf.
And there's a limit for each kid had their own library card, and I had mine, and you had one. And so we'd use all the library cards, and you could get 50 books for each card.
50 books.
So we've for years had a library bookshelf, is what we would call it, because we'd come home with these bags and bags and bags of books, and we'd fill up our library bookshelf with all the books, and we would read. And so it started at first me just reading to them before they could read. And so we would just get all these books, and they would bring me stacks, and we'd read them.
And I would suggest that while they're in the age where they can't read, especially the kids' books, like Arthur, that was one that we just said, nope, not going to read this one. We could weed out some of the good ones, some of the bad ones. And as they get older, it
gets a little harder to keep up with what they're reading. But before they're reading, all those books are very easy for you to read and be like, we're not going to do that.
My kids memorized them, I think.
Right.
I was like, are you reading or memorizing? So use the library. But here's the thing, though. This will happen a little bit slower. But create your own library.
Yeah.
Like we have plenty of books. We've got books all over the place. We've gone to the library when they have penny sales.
Right.
And we'll buy up some books. We'll wait for deals on wherever online or something to get some books. But there are thrift stores. Thrift stores had some good books. So we just filled our shelves with books. And so we have our own personal library. We don't go to the library too much anymore.
Not too much anymore. Actually, the last time we went was kind of disappointing. It seems like libraries sometimes want to push certain agendas.
So that's why we wanted to create our own library. And it can be expensive, but you do it slowly. So if you budget maybe $15-20 a month or something, and you just go pick up some things or save up for special or something like that. Yeah, so it's pretty good. You get a series of things, and
but I mean, honestly,
missionary stories and
our homeschooling for years was mostly stuff we found at the library. Like we would get books because you can find all things on science and history and all sorts of subjects that you get at the library instead of going through a textbook where it's like, okay, now we're going to talk about the human body and how is let's talk about the digestive system. And I would just go and the kids would all pick out books and then I would pick out books and, you try to find things that are going to grab your kids' interest.
Right.
And so, I'd bring home books and they would go through them and they'd be reading all about the body or all about some animal or, germs or whatever. And it's like, and so I would try to find books that looked interesting and they would read through them and learned all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, if you've been homeschooling for any time, you know that they are interested in something. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to bring it to you. Right. Hey, Mommy, look at this. Hey, Mommy, look at this. And usually they'd bring things that, we're not going to read that. And so there's a good way. You got to filter out some of the bad.
Right.
But another one is using the internet. Now, obviously, we talked about that a little bit earlier with things like Khan Academy and things like that, YouTube, and there's other learning things on. But specifically, you had on here the website, the mathworksheetsite.com.
Right. Yeah, I use that so many times because you can go there and print out like a 5-minute drill of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. You put in what you want and how many digits you'll allow. So I would
you
just
can specify it
before,
you can,
right?
Parameters and everything.
Exactly. So before we had like real math books, I would just be like, all right, well, we've talked about adding or whatever. So I would just print out a sheet and you can say I want 20 problems or 30 or 50, and you can even print out an answer key if you don't want to go through the trouble of like, let me see if this is all right. You can just print the key and do it. So it's very simple. And when the kids were little, they liked having, we got a worksheet, and it's just exciting and it's simple and it's free. So use it.
Yeah. So that website has been there forever.
Yeah.
And it works. It's a good one. We'll put that, like I said, in the description. Feed our kids' interest. We did this one big time. Want to speak on that one?
Well, that goes back to going to the library. I would let them pick whatever books they wanted. They would always check with me. And we were in the kids section, so most things and a lot in the nonfiction section too. I checked, but pretty much what they were interested in, I wanted to give them things about that. So if, I would try, and that's not just library, that's even just at home. It's like if they're interested in something, then we would try to.
Yeah, I remember one case, this didn't happen all the time, but we had a specific year where we had caterpillars just take over our yard. And so they were curious about caterpillars. So I said, let's go to the library. And we got books on libraries. We got books on caterpillars and all kinds of things. And then we ended up doing a project where we went to Walmart, got a bin, filled it with dirt, took some leaves with the caterpillars, and we wanted to trap them so we could get moths. I think we ended up killing them all, though.
Yeah, it didn't work so well.
But they remember that for sure because that was what was going on at that moment. So, it's kind of like you hear the cicadas out and about.
Right.
There's a special year for the year of the cicadas. Go do some research on it. If they're asking any questions,
go with it.
Boom. Yeah. Just go.
Or like
right there.
hurricane season for us, it's like go to the library. They've got some great books on hurricanes and how they develop and the history of them and whatever. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity to learn. So we just looked for any opportunity, anything they brought up, like you said, and we would just go with it and try to find things to feed that.
Yeah, Jeremiah and Joshua, they were like, we want to fix a lawnmower. I'm like, okay. And believe it or not, they have some things there for kids. It's very hard to find at times, but the technical books, they would go through it, and believe it or not, they could figure it out.
Right.
And they go fix a lawnmower, and so use those things. Those are really good things.
Yep.
All right. So then the big one here is the Bible.
Right. Yep. So I mean, obviously, people have different ways they want to teach the Bible, and there's many ways you can do that. But one thing we did was we would just, in the morning at breakfast time, we'd all get our Bibles and we'd read through the proverb of the day.
Proverb of the day, there's 31 proverbs, and there's 30 or 31 days usually in a month. So Proverbs 31 gets neglected half the year, but that's all right. You cover it a good bit of time.
Well, and so then we would, we'd read. I'd have each kid read, so we'd take turns once they were able to read. And but then we would talk about it. And we'd say, like, which verse stuck out to you, and so we'd stop
What's
many
the strange
times.
woman, Mom?
Yeah. So anyway, but I found that was pretty useful for us. So, and then another thing we would do is like memorize. We would just choose a verse or a chapter depending on how little
This was
they
before
were.
the Bible bee.
Yeah.
Now we don't have to ask that question.
Right. So we would just choose something that we wanted to memorize, and we'd work on that. And then another thing we did was we found that Learn the Bible in 24 Hours, which I actually just happened to find at the library one day when I was looking through the Bible section. I was like, hey, this looks like a cool book. So we got it and brought it home and started reading it to the kids. And they were like, wow, he makes the Bible sound like the most fascinating book ever.
That's right. Yeah, it's by Chuck Missler, and he describes the Bible in 24 hours. It's a book.
Yeah.
I listened to the book, and he actually has a video, 24 hours.
Right.
And the book is really good. It's a good oversight of the Bible. And we put that in the description down here. There's an Amazon link down there if you want to purchase it. You might be able to find it at the library.
Yeah.
But it's a great book for an overview. There's a lot of overview books out there, but he goes in depth and other things. Yeah. But as an overview, there was he brought out some very interesting points in the Bible, which brings up questions, and you dig deeper. So questions, capitalize on questions.
Right.
Kids will ask
probably
questions.
For more older kids a little bit. I mean, your 4, 5, and 6-year-olds are going to be
probably 12 and up.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, when they were little, it's just Bible stories. I mean, you have so many little books with Bible stories, and kids love to read about them. So that's easy.
So, babe, what about math? What are your things about math?
Well, like I say, we started with the worksheets, like from the math worksheet site or whatever I'd find. Even like at the dollar store, you can find little workbooks and stuff, and they enjoyed that. And then when they got a little older and it was time to get some official math in, I was actually given some Saxon math books, so I just went with it and then decided, hey, that worked really well. So we kind of filled in the gaps and got the rest of the books. And so as they got older, those are what we worked
What
through.
you can do to find some of these books cheaper, I forgot to mention earlier, is they have used book sales all the time for homeschoolers.
Yeah.
They also check out Facebook Marketplace or some of these Facebook groups with homeschool groups.
Yeah.
People are getting rid of curriculum and these textbooks, and they'll be cheaper.
Right.
They're not giving them away for free necessarily, even though we got ours for free.
Yeah.
But there will be available on some of these other discounted places where you can get it for cheaper, at least try it out or something. Right. But Saxon Math, and obviously we've done Khan Academy throughout the years. I know I've said that a few times, and it's not our go-to thing necessarily, but it does have some good helps as you get into higher math.
Right. Well, definitely, like geometry, I'm lost, kind of. So I'm
You
like,
didn't
hey,
like geometry?
I didn't do so well, so I'm like, how about you try Khan Academy for that one? So.
Okay, so science. So here's I don't care about science so much, but what about science?
Well, in science, like I said, with going to the library, you get all these books about plants and animals and the body and oceans and everything that you can think of, which is all part of science. But unfortunately, with so many of those books from the library, you're going to end up with a lot of evolution.
Right. Now, what we did early on is we brainwashed our kids, right? So we just told them evolution is not true and just stated it like that. And we explained it later. So we weren't afraid to read these books unless it was just so filled with evolution, just nonstop.
Yeah.
But we kind of just, okay, they're going to talk about it. So we didn't black mark it out or we did not read it because there was a lot of other good information in there. Right. We just would talk about, we just kind of roll our eyes and be like, oh, billions of years ago. And we'd make it like a joke. But other than that, the other information was pretty good. But you do have to be aware that in the sciences, they're going to have evolution.
Right. Yeah. And so then Lydia had mentioned earlier that she really thinks National Geographic helps a lot. Some of their videos that they've done are really quite amazing. And so when you're talking about science, they have a lot to offer. And of course, it's also going to have...
It has an agenda. There is no doubt about it. But hopefully you can be there to help guide them through some of that. But it's kind of good to see some sides of the other agenda so that they are going to be aware of it when they actually see it.
Right.
You know, if we always protect them away from what else is out there. And I'm not just talking about sinful things like, you know, cursing or nudity or something like that. We're talking about philosophies, worldly ideas. We need to be aware that, hey, we can tackle evolution. We're not afraid of it. You know, here's the answers for evolution, which, by the way, was science. I know you don't have it down here. Oh, you have Apologia. But Apologia, Answers in Genesis has a lot of stuff. Yeah. CRI has some stuff on evolution issues and things like that still has good science to it.
Right.
So
that's why, because I had read probably hundreds and hundreds of books that, you know, promote other things, I wanted to balance that out. So that's when we found Apologia, which I think is really solid.
Sure.
And a good curriculum. That we only got that for some of the older grades just to finally get them some truth in there too. So.
And don't judge a book by its cover, huh?
Well, it's just like when you go and you look at books, it's if a book looks boring to a kid, they're not going to want to read it. So, I mean, they make really cool books now about all sorts of different things.
Well, that sounds like judge a book by its cover.
Well, yeah, but that's the saying is don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh, okay.
But I think that that's wrong when it comes to kids because when I go and I get tons and tons of books for them to read, the ones that they read are the ones that look interesting. So
sure, I'm there too. I'm an adult, and I still.
So I mean, when you're picking out books, I know sometimes you can look through a book and it just has a blank cover, and it just but you're like you look through it as a parent, and you're like, oh, this is good information. But for a small child, they don't care about good information. They want to see cool pictures and whatever. So go for that.
So now history, this is another one like science. There's some hidden agendas amongst the histories. Now, we did a lot of, what's that? Great courses, the Learning Company, the great courses. And I listened to them. I work, so I listened to a lot of them. And their history ones were pretty good. Their American history was pretty good, Civil War history, World War II, World War I, even ancient history. A lot of their histories are pretty solid. And if you have a attention span, it's pretty good because their videos are kind of boring. These are like college level things. So we did some of that. Going to the library, once again, is full of history books. History's so broad.
Right.
It's 6,000 years, right?
Yeah.
Or almost 6,000 years. And so you could almost find just about anything you want at the library. But there's a lot of biographies. Our kids love biographies.
Right. They read stories about people from, a long time ago. And so they're learning history through that, but it's interesting. And so it's, I find so many history textbooks that they make for kids are just dull and boring.
Yeah, because they're just taking little snippets and trying to fit everything in, and it's not interesting at all.
Right.
So just pick a few things that you guys are interested in. I know a lot of homeschoolers are interested in American history. That's not necessarily my thing. I like more ancient history and Roman history and Greek history. But whatever it is, you want to spread it out a little bit and get it in there. And your favorite history book?
Yeah, I actually at the library, I found a book, A Child's History of the World. And that book now the first couple chapters, I kind of skip over because cavemen and whatever. But then it goes through just the history of the world, but in just such a big, broad picture that it makes everything kind of fit together and
Kind
make
of like the
sense.
24 hours. the
Yeah,
Bible in
so I'm
24
like, oh, wow, that really helps. So sometimes I would read through it and like read a chapter, and then I'd go to the library and it's like, oh, this week we're talking about the ancient Greeks. So I would get books that go with that
Right.
time period to kind of supplement and to kind of, they could see pictures, they could see things that were happening during that time. And so it just kind of helped to outline history so I could put it together for them.
Yeah,
So.
that does help. And we actually put a link in the description, Amazon link there, so you can check out. We actually found the book. I don't even know how we found the book originally.
Yeah, I think I just randomly came across it at
Right.
the library and was like, hey, let me
So-
check it out. And then also the drive-through history, that link is there too. And that's something that we found.
That's a Christian-based one, and
Right.
it's kind of more of a TV show, and so it's ridiculously funny at times and
Right.
just silly.
He's got to talk
but
about
it
his
has,
car that he's driving.
Right,
and-
but he's got it's pretty interesting. There
Yeah.
goes through. There's one for Bible,
Right. Well, there's through the Gospels and then to the ends of the earth. And
Right.
there's definitely
American history.
a Christian bent there, which I can appreciate. But
Right.
we'll sit down and watch an episode and I'll take notes and then turn it off and then I'll compare notes and talk about everything we learned. And they really get a lot from that.
Sure,
So I think it's
sure.
great.
And the link is there in the description, so check that out. What about reading? I think this is a pretty easy one, right? I mean,
Right.
we read books. That's all
Right.
we did.
Yeah.
We would read to our kids. The kids would read. They don't really do that as much. Sometimes they do, I guess, but as they got older. But we didn't have like devices for them to have. They weren't distracted. We didn't have noisy toys or anything like that. So what they did for fun was read books and develop their creativity in their mind. There's nothing like reading a book. I was listening to something recently, and when a movie does something or a TV show does something, it takes away all the creativity because now it's right
Yeah.
there. So whenever you see Darth Vader, whenever you think of Darth Vader, or Constantine, right? When you think of Darth Vader, you picture of Darth Vader. But if you read about it and you describe, everybody has a different idea of what Darth Vader, and you can discuss it. And what do you think he looks like?
Right.
But once you have it in the movie or in a TV show or on a video, it's like sealed there forever, and you lose your creativity. Books allow you to escape into that again and mix them up. It's okay to have fiction, and that's a whole nother subject, probably a
Right.
whole nother podcast on fiction, Christian fiction, and all that. But the kids need it every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's not just nonfiction. Some of our girls that's all they read is nonfiction and stuff like that. But it's good to mix in some lighthearted stuff too.
Right, absolutely. Well, and the reading thing, it really just starts before they can read.
Sure.
We read to them so much, so books and reading were such a part of life that once they could read, that's what they wanted to do. So.
Right. And like you said, you go to the library
Yeah.
all the time.
Right.
Just, you got to be careful these days. They're pushing agendas and things like that. So English. Now, here's where I ain't good at. And so I'm not very good at English. The kids laugh at me when I tried to do a structure, what do you call that with the sentence?
Diagramming a sentence.
diagramming a sentence. And I tried, and I've forgotten how to do that. And they just laughed at me. But anyway, so English, what do you do for English?
So, as far as grammar goes, that was really, to me, easy for the ones that read a lot because they can just sit there and, they'll write whole books and their paragraphs are good. Their
That's what they
sentence
did for
structure
fun,
is good.
was
Right.
write.
So they just, I didn't tell them to write. They just like doing that. And their writing is beautiful. So I feel like if you read well, then you can write well. But we have used things like Easy Grammar. We've used Rod and Staff, and we've used lately a Saxon grammar book that we
Rod
go
and Staff
through.
is very simple but very effective, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And Easy Grammar, I've never heard of.
Oh, okay. Well,
Is that? I don't know what that is.
It's-
It's those little booklet things.
no, it's
No.
actually a big, thick
Oh,
book,
okay.
but anyway.
I've probably seen it and I just not recognize it.
Yeah.
But anyway, like you said, the more you read, it's kind of funny how that seeps in, where you know how to write. Then,
Right.
And especially our girls. I don't know about the boys, but the girls all love to sit there and write stories.
Right.
And even Rebecca has a book that she's already written. It's produced, and you can buy it on Amazon. But they've all wrote stories and compare, and they collaborate, and
Just for fun. So
just for fun.
yeah.
That is their fun, is writing stories.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. So they're pretty good at grammar.
Right.
Where the boys aren't as good as grammar, and they didn't read as much. So you see
Yeah.
the connection? Okay, speaking of which, spelling.
Spelling.
The worst spellers in the house are the boys, including me. We are terrible. The way I understood it was people who are bad at spelling are creative because they just are coming up with different ways to spell words.
I mean, that's interesting. But,
Yeah.
I will
Not
say,
sure if it's true.
I will say again, people that read a lot spell really well because you're constantly reading.
And I don't read a
words.
lot. I listen to
Right.
a lot of books.
Yeah,
I do
so
that
that's
now because I have time to listen. And that's probably true.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. So
but
anyway.
early on, I would just go to the internet and I'd like look up second grade spelling words, fourth grade whatever I wanted, and I would just find lists and call them out to them. And
Yeah, well,
they
here
would
you
just
have
go through it.
specifically the homespellingwords.com.
Right. That's one website that I used often, and I just would make my own lists and read them off to them every day. And then, sometimes I'd be like, all right, on Friday we'll have a test, whatever
Yeah.
that means. But
Right.
anyway, so.
And then a book here, Spelling Power,
Yeah.
is what we tried to use, and where I failed miserably. Me
Well,
and Jeremiah had a contest, and I was most of the time.
Well, Spelling Power is actually kind of a neat book because it's all in one. You can teach anybody from, just your kids starting to read all the way up through college level it's supposed to be.
Right.
So it has like something you go through to like test your kids to see what level they're on, and then you start there. And it's like 15 minutes a day. You just read off the words, and then maybe not even 15 minutes. I think they say 5 or 10, whatever.
Yeah,
It's
they have
really
a nice little plan.
Yeah, so it's really easy. So I could do it with all of the kids, and they're just on all different levels. And I just got them a simple notebook from Walmart, and every day we just go through their next thing. So that was actually really helpful.
Yeah, and then we have critical thinking. Now, when we talk about critical thinking, this is important.
Yeah.
And we found one book that was extremely helpful.
Yeah.
And our kids use this to this day.
Yeah.
We'll be sitting at the dinner table and like, what kind of fallacy is that? What kind of fallacy is this? And it's actually the Fallacy Detectives. And it teaches you how to think critically and the fallacies of our reasoning at times. And so we leave a description in below, but you can look at the library, whatever. You don't have to buy it. But at the Fallacy Detectives.
And we did that, from when the kids were all little. And
and they loved it.
I would go through it, and they loved it. And then they would recognize when people would use some sort of fallacy in their logic.
You got to be
and they'd
careful
like,
because
"Hey,
then they'll use it on you.
that was a
But,
red herring. It's
right.
like, what? So
be careful on that one.
anyway.
So anyway, sports, music, sports. Would you want to say it was sports?
Well, it's just when you talk about homeschooling, sports is something that comes up, especially you go to a convention or something. You have baseball you can sign up for, soccer, whatever.
Yeah, sports was near and dear to my heart. Growing up, I loved every sport. I played every sport. I knew the rules to every sport. I was a sports fanatic.
Right.
I played baseball. I was in the dugouts. I played organized sports. And they were vile places. And so early on, I rejected all of that, and I didn't do my kids. They didn't put my kids in any sporting activities.
Yeah.
Now they play volleyball now,
Just
but early
nothing
on,
with organized sports.
yeah, no organized sports. That was our choice, and I know a lot of homeschoolers are trying to push that. That's your choice. I don't want to be running to and fro, and that's why I find a lot of people are just busy. Just go outside and throw the ball with your kid. I understand organized sports are fine, but I didn't want that influence. Now, if you're surrounded by a bunch of homeschoolers and they're all together, and maybe it's a fine thing, and like we do that outside our backyard, we play volleyball, and our kids were the worst athletes out there. But they got better as they learned, and I actually taught them how to do certain things. So eventually I got out there with them, but early on I that was my own personal thing because of the world I came from.
Yeah.
And I didn't want all that nonsense, but that it could be important.
Yeah.
Same thing with music. It just depends on what you're into. All our kids play music.
Right.
We're not necessarily musicians. I play guitar.
Yeah.
And that's about you learning guitar.
Trying.
Yeah, you sing.
Yeah.
But all of our kids are really into music at some level.
Right.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
think of one that doesn't do anything.
Right.
With sometimes they're very random. One person will do a cello. One person's doing the flute. What did Hannah do the one time? She was learning.
She learned violin for a little while.
Yeah, not the violin, but the other thing, the
Ukulele.
ukulele.
Okay.
And so everyone was trying to learn something, and I would encourage that. The arts are important, I
Yeah.
think.
But these things aren't things that you have to do. You don't
Right.
have to do sports. You don't have to have music lessons for your kids or have an instrument that they're learning. And
Keep it simple.
if that works
Keep
for you,
it
great.
simple.
If not, don't worry about it.
And shop.
Yeah.
So shop class. If you got boys, you want shop class. Girls too. We would go and buy junk. Like we still have a bunch of junk, but we would buy old lawnmowers and things, We would buy literally fixer-uppers. We would live in our projects.
Right.
Not in the projects. We did that, but we would buy project houses, and we would live in that and fix them up. And, of course, they learned how to use a hammer and all that. We weren't afraid to live in construction, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
We don't suggest that necessarily. That's just what we did. So anyway, all right, where are we now?
So that's pretty much, I mean, those are the things that we've done. But, you know, in ending it out here, it's like what we wanted to do is make life about learning. So whatever we're doing, it's like we're living and we're learning. It's all going to kind of go together.
We have about 18 to 20 years of our kids being here in our house and under our roof. And we wanted to make sure that all of that time we put as much as we could into them, whether it's love and care, learning, you know, the Bible, whatever, everything that we know, we want to put into them. And so our family, we're not a farming family.
Right.
If you're a farming family, it's going to look a little different. But, you know, we went to the nursing home, you know, take care of elderly people. If you wanted a ministry opportunity.
But some families have elderly, like
People living
grandparents
in
or
their
whatever,
home.
living with them. So their lives are, you know, going to be a lot more consumed with what that looks like. And so that's not every family, and that's okay. We each have different strengths. We each have different interests and things that we do.
Different things that are happening right now in your life.
Right.
Like you weren't planning on this.
Yeah.
Now you are.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
maybe you have a sick mom or dad, and not mom or dad, but husband or wife or whatever that needs a lot of care. Well, all of a sudden they're going to be interested in nursing maybe.
Right.
So that's very reasonable. Musicals thing, once again.
Right. Some families are all about
just
the music, and that's fine too. And then some families will own a business, whether it's, you know, a restaurant or a window cleaning business.
Yeah, window cleaning or building houses or stuff. I mean, all my older kids have clean windows.
Right.
They've been working with me,
Yeah.
and but even part of that, it's still, we discuss, the schooling's over. Like the kids that I work with, their schooling is technically over.
Right.
They're high school. But when we get together, when I work together with them, we talk about all kinds of issues. Their learning isn't stopping.
Right.
We still talk. We still communicate. We still delve into different things. We'll have conversations around the dinner table where we're just still learning. We're still curious about things. What did you learn today? What did you learn today? And we'll get into some huge arguments, and not arguments, discussions,
Right.
and things like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's recap here, babe. We've got to remember the rules, right?
Yep. So remember the rules. So number 4, I went backwards on this one. So number 4 is be on the same page with your spouse.
Very important. Be on the same page with your spouse. Number 3 is don't compare yourselves to others because it's just not worth it.
Right.
Be
No.
who you are
Right.
and do the best you can.
Yep.
You know, don't try to be us. Don't try to be someone else. Be who you are and do the best your job. We're here to help.
Right.
You know, you go and look and search for other people to help you, but don't try to be that person.
Yeah, exactly. And then number 2 is have fun. So if your kids aren't enjoying it, if you're not enjoying it, if everybody's miserable, it's not going to work.
Stop. Yeah, just stop.
Change.
And number 1, remember the goal. For us, we wanted to have them know Jesus and to make that the centerpiece of our household. And I think we did that. You know, I think that was the most important thing about our schooling. And so remember the purpose, remember the why. I think that is important. Yeah. So anyway, I hope those things have helped you out. Hopefully we didn't bore you, that last segment there, but hopefully we gave you some encouragement. Go check out those links. Go check out the website. We'll probably have this up here pretty soon where we can have some of these helps. And well, anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week with probably Larry and Chuck together. So look forward to that. We'll see you.
Hi, I'm Joshua Charleston, the producer for The Mike Charleston Show. If you enjoy listening to the show, please help us spread the word by liking, subscribing, sharing, leaving a review, or just tell a friend. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you'd like to be a part of the show, please email us at talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. We look forward to hearing from you.
We hope you enjoyed listening to The Mike Charleston Show. The Mike Charleston Show.